This is The Gorge. This is a podcast where my friend Sara and I gorge ourselves on overanalyzing a game or game-related topic. This week we are talking about Silent Hill for... the PS1, the PS2, the PS3, Xbox 360, Wii,
the original
PC.
Xbox.
Yes, the original Xbox.
It had Silent Hill 2 was out on the original Xbox as well.
So, and GameCube? No, nothing came out on GameCube. No. The only Nintendo Silent Hill was Shattered Memories.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I had to think about that for a minute. Oh, and the PSP because of Origins.
Oh, yeah, the PSP. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's out on everything except for the PS4.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't want an HD port of Silent Hill on the PS4.
We had Silent Hill.
We had it for a very short period. So, yeah, we're basically doing this because of Death Stranding trailer happened, and then I've just had Silent Hill on the brain, which is weird. So
let's
I'll
be
just
honest. It's because the best friends were playing it.
Yeah, well that too. That didn't help. That didn't hurt.
No.
But I've been thinking about doing this since the second Death Stranding trailer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel that.
I'll be entirely honest. I have only ever touched a single Silent Hill.
Which one?
And that is Shattered Memories.
You are just the biggest scaredy cat, aren't you?
I am a coward. Okay, to be fair, I also got a PS2 late in its development. And every Silent Hill beyond the PS2 ones is shit garbage.
Oh god, they fucking suck. Except for Shattered Memories, and even then, I wouldn't even. It's like a 7.
I put it on the side of the good ones, but it's the lowest on the list of the good ones.
Exactly. It's like a 7, it's like a really solid 7, but it's definitely a 7. And it shouldn't have been a Silent Hill game at all. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah, it should have been its own, survival horror thing.
Absolutely.
And not tied to Silent Hill at all.
They just reskinned it as Silent Hill to make a little extra money off of it, which, I get, but still, fuck Konami.
Yeah. This is also our fuck Konami cast. We're gonna get into that, too.
You motherfuckers.
Yeah.
At least Guillermo del Toro agrees with me.
Yeah. Now that being said, I have experienced a lot of Silent Hills because of the aforementioned Best Friends and other LPs, and also the aforementioned Best Friends.
Oh, okay. Your audio, the call cut out for a half second there, so I lost you. But it's not a big deal. Yeah. It's just the audio had a pop. But the Best Friends are the best way to experience Silent Hill. If you're not a spooky games person, like Benjamin here is not.
I also at work I trawl wikis for games that I don't play but are still interested in.
Right.
That's also the reason that I did the Mortal Kombat casts, is because I would read the wikis at work. And I'm I need to tell someone about this shit.
Somebody needs to know. Well, I have played Silent Hill.
Yes.
I haven't played a whole fuck ton of Silent Hill, but I have played a reasonable amount of Silent Hill in my day. I've played Silent Hill 2 twice. I've played Silent Hill 3 once and a half, because, you do that thing where you restart the game and then you get bored halfway through and go do something else and forget about it. I played Homecoming and immediately hated myself. And And then, I didn't play 4, and I really wished I had, in retrospect. I should play it at some point, because knowing the shit that comes after 4 has sweetened my view of 4 in the years that have gone by. Nowadays, I'm man, 4 was one of the good ones. When 4 first came out, everybody's man, this is not nearly as good as 2 and 3. But boy, if we knew what was coming, we would have been a whole hell of a lot nicer in the room.
We would have appreciated it a bit more.
I mean, honestly, if I could go back in time, one of the things I would do is teleport myself back in the years and warn everybody that Silent Hill was gonna suck real fucking soon. So maybe be a little bit nicer to the room, so this might not happen. Jesus God. Poor the room. you look at it now, and you're like, man, it's still a Silent fucking Hill game, you know?
At least it's got spooks in it.
It's
At
got
least
spooky
it's like
spooks, and
it's got a genuine character that is like appreciated, and it's not great, but it was better than what we ended up getting, and you could actually sort of talk about its merits a bit.
You could talk about kind of like what it symbolizes. You could talk about the fact that it draws connections from 2 and 4. Like it has James's dad is in the room. You could talk about the fact that it is genuinely scary. There's that. I mean, again, I haven't actually played this game, but I know about this game by being a Silent Hill person. There's the room with Eileen's giant head just staring at you. And it's fucking horrifying.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's terrifying.
It's major, major nightmare fuel. And it was made by Team fucking Silent, which is what really goddamn matters, you know?
Yeah, that's the important thing, is that it was made by Team Silent, for fuck's sake.
For fuck's sake. And then
who knew that would be important?
Yeah, who knew you'd want the original creators making your good fucking franchise? God damn it.
Oh.
I'm so bitter. I mean, I have never been there are few things in this world, other than Xillia 2, that I am more bitter about than what happened to Silent Hill. Because, like, it could still be good. I mean, like, any other like Resident Evil had its downtimes. It kind of has its ups and downs. And we were in a down. And now we're kind of on the upswing.
Long-standing franchises usually will have their back and forth dipping, like, especially with Capcom games, speaking of Resident Evil, like Devil May Cry or Mega Man or anything, or Street Fighter will have its high points and its low points, and then they'll, but
they recover.
For the most part, you'll get, or even fucking Konami, even Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Like, even 4 wasn't as well received as the other ones, and then 5 is very, divisive. But no, I don't think there's ever been a franchise that had such a cutoff point.
Oh, absolutely. The downward spiral of Silent Hill started and never really stopped. And it, like, tried. Like, it had a few dying shudders, because Origins isn't great, but there's something in it that could be good. If you really kind of look. And Shattered Memories is a cool concept, an okay execution that could have stood on its own. Like,
yeah,
like those things, those were kind of like the last gasping breaths of the franchise before Konami finally drove a stake in its heart in the form of killing off Silent Hills, you motherfuckers.
So, I guess before we dive too deep, we're gonna kind of do this, I think we're gonna do this in halves, which is, we either talk about the meta behind Silent Hill, or we talk about the actual games themselves.
Right.
So the question is, what do you want to start with?
Let's start... I don't know. You pick. I could talk about both at length, probably.
Well, let's do the games first, then.
Okay.
And then we will slide into the meta when we get caught up to Silent Hills.
Right.
Ugh. Now, again, I can only speak of the experience of the ones that I've watched. It's funny, I actually own a copy of one, but I have not touched it since I picked it up.
Yeah, I played a little bit of one as a kid, so I don't really count it as, like, one of the Silent Hills I've played.
It's kind of, but it's like, it's kind of the same thing where, like, Silent Hill 1 is a lot like Street Fighter 1, where it's like, no one really cares about that one. They all care about the ones that came after it. Like, it gets its props for starting everything off, but, like, when you think of Silent Hill, you don't really think of Harry Mason, you think of James Sunderland, or you think of Heather Mason.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you think of the terrible movie, maybe.
Yeah.
But, like...
We'll get there.
But yeah, the first Silent Hill is kind of like it's finding its feet, and it laid the groundwork. And there's a lot of cool stuff in the first Silent Hill that, like, the concepts are cool, and I think, if Konami wasn't a sack of shit making pachinko games, not really games, making pachinko machines, let's be real here, then they would capitalize on the fact that HD remakes are really cool right now, and they would do a proper HD remake of Silent Hill 1. But that's never going to happen.
No, it's not.
Because God is dead.
Yeah. Especially in Silent Hill.
God is super dead in Silent Hill. What's up?
Heather shot God.
Heather shot God with a shotgun.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fucking dope.
But so really, when you think of Silent Hill, the one that comes to mind immediately is 2.
2. I mean, yeah,
like,
everybody's talking about 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the one that you know. It's it. It's it. Yeah. Yeah. Silent Hill is Silent Hill 2, and then everything else is offset by it.
Again, Silent Hill 2 is so synonymous with Silent Hill that the terrible movie had to find a way to shoehorn in Pyramid Head.
Which, yeah, you know, every Silent Hill fan has said it over and over again, but it bears repeating every time. Pyramid Head is James.
Yes!
James's thing. It's his thing. Pyramid Head isn't a Goomba. He's not, you know, fuck. I don't know. He's not Pikachu. He is a manifestation of a single character's negativity.
Yeah,
like,
it's all of his guilt and his desire to punish himself for what he did. Because in the paintings, in the historical society, yeah. In the paintings of the Historical Society, Pyramid Head is the Punisher. He's the executioner for the old Silent Hill. And so, like, James has been to Silent Hill. He's seen the paintings of Pyramid Head. He knows that's what Pyramid Head, or the Red Pyramid, was back in the day. And so he's internalized it, and now this thing that he knows from his time in Silent Hill with his wife has taken on the manifestation of his guilt. And, Pyramid Head is James. That's the point we're trying to make here.
Yes. And it's so weird because, like, every little aspect about Pyramid Head is James.
It's James, yeah.
Everything. The giant, the helmet itself, the butcher knife, the way it moves, the way it acts around other monsters. It's all James. Like, there's nothing like, it's not like a generic spook monster. Every little aspect of, and that's the best thing about Silent Hill, is their designs for everything, like the early ones at least, are so perfect and tied to those characters in such a distinct way. There's so much planning.
Yes.
And detail work into everything. And that's what makes 2 so good, is because now maybe it's just because 2 is kind of like my first like real foray into the real Silent Hill, but like I don't like the cult.
Really? Okay, a lot of people don't. I actually, as I've gotten older, I used to hate the cult. And I think as I've kind of, like, gotten more into the silent, like, kind of dug my fingers into Silent Hill more as, like, a thing, I've kind of warmed up to the horror aspect of the cult. And I don't know what it is. I think it's a combination of a few things. I think it's I live in the Deep South, so I have to deal with creepy religious people all the time. And it's just the kind of idea that they're everywhere, they're in every aspect of Silent Hill society, and they're kind of hidden away. They're your neighbors, but they do horrifying things, you know?
I think the reason I don't like it is that it's a tangible thing in Silent Hill. And part of the strong appeal of Silent Hill in general is, like, you don't know what's real, like, or what is a metaphor, what is a hallucination, what is actually physically attacking you.
Yeah.
And having the cult be there as, like, here is an enemy for you to actually confront.
But the thing is, Silent Hill wouldn't exist in the context that it is. Silent Hill wouldn't be this personal hell for everybody if it weren't for the cult, because the Silent Hill is the way it is for James and for everybody because of Alessa. It all boils down to the fact that God was in Silent Hill, and God being there kind of warped the fabric of reality of this place. So you can't really have Silent Hill without the cult. you know?
Right, and I get that.
Yeah.
I guess what I think about it most of all is that I don't like the cult being like a present threat.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind it being in the background.
Like a past
so much.
threat.
Yeah, or like it's the cult, now it's time. I just feel like it kind of takes away from it, and I also kind of feel this about a few things in Silent Hill in general. Like, the idea of, like, well, now you must defeat the cult feels, I kind of hate to say this, but feels very video gamey.
I guess I kind of get it, but I don't know. To me...
But you're right, it is something that needs to exist in order to bring Silent Hill into being.
I think, and don't take this the wrong way, I think a lot of people's first exposure to Silent Hill is Silent Hill 2, they don't understand that the cult is kind of intrinsic to Silent Hill. Like, Silent Hill, by the time Silent Hill 4 came out, it was pretty obviously established that Silent Hill 2 was the outlier.
Yeah, exactly, and that's I know that's the weird thing about it, is that like a lot of people have that opinion of they see the cult as like extraneous or like an extra detail that
but the cult is
unnecessary.
Silent Hill. Like,
it was present since 1. You know,
it's
like
been
you
there
can't
since
have it
the
without
beginning.
it.
Yeah, I think removing the cult kind of removes part of what makes Silent Hill such a strange place.
Yeah,
it kind of helps reinforce the kind of existential weirdness that the place exists in, that a cult like that can just kind of be, you know?
Yeah, and I get that, but like, and I guess, as the series goes on, like, yeah, you would need more details like that, but I guess as a standalone Silent Hill 2, like, the cult is not necessary, and you can, at face value, just take Silent Hill as being a weird place.
Yeah.
Where crazy shit happens.
Yeah. And
so, like, I don't know, it's, I guess, and I get what you're saying about it all of it, and I guess what it really boils down to on a more positive note is that I appreciate that Silent Hill can exist without the cult.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and obviously...
You can tell a story without it being there.
Yeah, and you can tell that Kojima was kind of, at least from what I could see in PT, Kojima was getting away from the cult as well. But who knows? I mean, there was a lot of weird backstory going on in that demo about a father killing his family and stuff like that. And you never know, like, how that would have all tied in together. But I don't think completely excising the cult from Silent Hill is a good idea, because then you get things like Homecoming. I think at least kind of keeping a finger in the roots, because again, what Homecoming did wrong, from what I didn't play Homecoming all the way through because I try to avoid it if at all possible, and we don't even talk about Downpour. I think what Homecoming did wrong and what Silent Hill 2 did right, even though it's two similar concepts of like kind of existing outside of the general Silent Hill story that's getting told, is that they are, kind of taken away from the cult, but the difference is that Silent Hill 2 remembers the cult exists, and Silent Hill Homecoming tries to just kind of play it off like it doesn't, and like, again, Pyramid Head would not exist in James's version of Silent Hill if it weren't for the cult.
Right, yeah.
Because the original, in the Historical Society, Pyramid Head is the executioner for the old Silent Hill. So that is still an acknowledgement that the cult exists, that I think keeps the series grounded in its lore and its backstory, because that is a major part of what makes Silent Hill Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And that's one of Homecoming's stumbling blocks, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Among many.
What's kind of interesting is that Silent Hill is kind of like a weird reverse Legend of Zelda, where you have the second one in the series being like, they tried something different with it, and then kind of went back on that and stuck with what was the main one. But in Legend of Zelda, it was widely refuted. Like, Adventure of Link is one of the lower tier games, and then Silent Hill 2 is like the one that everyone knows the most.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why Silent Hill 2 is so, like, the one everybody knows the most is that it is separate from the main story of the cult.
Yeah.
It has a very low entry level. Like, anybody can just start playing Silent Hill 2, and you don't need to know the backstory to know that this is a fucked up story about a guy feeling a ton of guilt about murdering his wife.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, in Silent Hill 3, you don't have to ever play Silent Hill 1 to know exactly what is going on in Silent Hill 3, but you do lose a little bit of emotional impact by not knowing who Harry Mason is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
One of the big shockers of Silent Hill 3 is that, holy shit, they actually went there and they killed off the main character of the first game in a sequel off screen. It's a huge moment. It's like a what the fuck? They actually had the balls to do that, and it totally worked.
Not even that, but that moment alone is the first time that you learn who Heather is.
Yeah, exactly, totally. And it's such a, it's a huge moment, and if you don't have, even without the context of Silent Hill 1, that is still a big emotional moment.
Yeah.
Because her voice actor is phenomenal.
Yeah, okay, so, one of the things I really dig about that, and that it also ties into Silent Hill 2 and 3 as well, both of them together, is that Silent Hill 2, everyone's voice actor is very stilted and very awkward, and I love Guy Seehee. He was great. They're all great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Their roles they're perfect, but everyone has that weird sort of cadence to their tone. Mm-hmm. And it's really great because it sort of all ties them together to this town where everyone kind of sounds almost like fake humans.
Yeah, none of them, because it's established in 2 that every single one of these people, other than Laura, is just weird. They're just weird people with fucked up things going on with them. So it's totally intentional that Eddie and Angela and James all sound fucking weird because they're weird people. That's intentional 1,000%. Even Mary. Now, Mary/Maria is the most normal sounding person because of the fact that Maria especially is not, she's not really a person. She is a person, but she isn't.
She's a manifestation of the town.
Yeah. She's like the town.
She only exists because of the town.
Yeah, exactly. And so because of that, she's kind of like an outlier. She's outside that strangeness that the other people who are here in Silent Hill have in them. And so her voice acting is a little bit more naturalistic, but she is still kind of strange sounding. Yeah. And it's all totally intentional. And
then you get to 3, and you get the same thing for everyone except Heather.
Exactly. Oh man, it's so good, right?
It's great. I love that about 3. And the thing is, it's kind of the same thing we talked about with Persona, where, we talked about how Chie sounds awkward because she is awkward.
Yeah.
There are bits where Heather sounds awkward, but it's because she is awkward, and it sounds way more natural awkwardness than the other characters in the game. Say, Vincent or
Claudia or
Claudia.
Douglas. Yeah, Douglas especially sounds real fucking weird.
Oh yeah, Douglas sounds like an alien trying to sound like a human being. But it fits really well with his character.
Because it just helps really ground the fact that Heather is a normal 17-year-old girl caught up in this really crazy shit going on that she never really asked to be a part of. In Silent Hill 2 and everybody else in Silent Hill 3, they are all in this, in quotation marks. They're in this because they want to be. So that makes them strange. The fact that they kind of have put themselves in a situation like this is what makes them strange. Meanwhile, Heather is just dragged into it unwillingly. So there isn't anything strange. She's God, but she's not. But there isn't anything strange about her personality.
It's really great to see her in contrast to James, who kind of takes a lot of the craziness of Silent Hill in stride. Mm-hmm. Whereas Heather is notably freaked out and very uncomfortable about being in this town.
Yeah, 100%.
And I really appreciate it because you don't get that in a lot of survival horror games where you actually get to see the character react to things being out of place or freaky or uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So it's really great to actually see a character do that. And part of that, I think, for the rest of the Silent Hill games is that, because, the character is sort of already entrenched in Silent Hill before they arrive.
Yeah. like whether they realize it or not, they're kind of in it, and so they're just the decision to make them sound so odd and so stilted and so guilty, I think, is what really works well for Silent Hill 2's cast. Is they all talk strange because they're all hiding something, you know?
Yeah.
And
suspicious.
So, yeah, they're all suspicious because they're suspicious people because they did terrible things. Now, the degree of terribleness varies, but, you know, it's still just, it was a conscious decision to make all of them sound odd, and then to have Heather come in and sound so normal. And I mean, just like, and even the thing she, you know, when she has her little like whatever moments, like you're like, that's kind of weird because it seems so out of place in Silent Hill, and then you're like, no, it's weird because she's a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah,
like
and that's the reaction that she would have to this kind of thing, where she gets very impatient with not being in control of things, and then she instead of reacting, you know, or trying to get more, she's just more willing to brush everything off because she doesn't care.
She doesn't
If they're not going to include her, then she's not going to care.
Yeah, like, why should she care? I mean, she's in Silent Hill for the sole purpose of, fuck you, bitch, you killed my dad.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't care about grand master plans or
it's like I told you, Heather's my favorite protagonist for the sole reason being that Claudia spent like over a decade preparing for this ritual. And then told it to Heather, who didn't care.
Who didn't give a shit at all. I mean, Heather is literally there because, again, fuck you, bitch, you killed my dad. You know, like, she doesn't care about this god stuff, about the cult. I mean, like, it is who she is, but at the same time, like, it's not what's important to her. And, like, so she just seems so normal, especially in comparison to the weirdness that is Claudia. Oh my god!
Yeah, oh god, Claudia is a weirdo.
Oh, she's a fucking weirdo. I love Claudia because she is so fucking strange. I don't know, she just makes me think of, like, every creepy nun in every movie ever. But, like, in a really great way. And I love Claudia. I don't know, there's just something about her that I just really dig. In her total level-headedness and just, you know, the fact that she's so above, you know, it's just so beyond it, you know?
You get a lot of really good interactions between her and the other characters besides Heather, and that's what I really appreciate about it.
Yeah. And I think that's...
You get her talking to Vincent, and you get her talking to Douglas, and so you get to see other characters, you know, play off of her.
Yeah. And
see her act differently around them compared to Heather, and so you get a much more, like, complete look at her.
Right, yeah, and I think that's kind of one of the things that, you know, going back to this whole idea of, do we need the cult? I think part of what makes Silent Hill 3 so good is that there is all this different character interaction, not just with, you know, Heather and all these weirdos around her, but these weirdos all interacting with each other as well, that if you only ever stuck to the formula of this is somebody's personal hell, you know, there is not a lot of interpersonal connection between the other weirdos in Silent Hill 2. You don't get... The only person who ever really interacts with any of them, and really only one of them, is Laura talking to Eddie.
Yeah, and only for a little bit, and that's mostly off-screen.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, James seems to kind of interact with them in one-on-one situations only. And I think part of that is to help keep it nebulous about what's actually going on in Silent Hill, because if more people were in the room to kind of talk it out, they could be like, well, it's different here for me, and da-da-da-da. And we don't want that. Of course, that spoils the...
No, that would take away from the dread of it all.
Yeah, exactly. That all of them are kind of isolated in this weird-ass place, and they can't make contact with other people, except for in little strange, fleeting encounters with one another.
Yeah, and one of the things, like, I don't know if it's just me or if this was intentional or not, but, like, part of the contrast between 2 and 3 is, like, for 2, for a long time, I was never sure if anyone that James interacted with was actually real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't know if Eddie or Angela or any of them were, or even Laura, like, were actually, like, well, are you like I knew Maria was fake because obviously she looks exactly like Mary,
Right.
Like, obviously she represents something in part of James' psyche, but, like, the others, like, well, were they, you know, who are these people? Because we don't see them outside of the context of Silent Hill. We have no idea if we can actually understand that they're real people.
Yeah.
And that kind of, like, again, made me very wary about all of them.
Yeah, for sure. And for a while, people were. You know, there's always been for years. And, you know, the fun thing about being a grown-up on the internet is that you can remember the early days of fandom speculation. And, I mean, these are conversations people have been having for ever
these games are old and they're worth discussing. But, again, This is the Gorge. This exists for us to talk about it.
But, and that's the thing is, I mean, people have always kind of asked that question, like, well, are Laura and Angela and Eddie, are they real? Are they kind of figments of James' mind? Like, what are they? Who are they? And, you know, we do have some hints that they're real. We know that Laura kind of doesn't see the world the way they see it. We know that Angela really did kill her dad and the rest of her family. It's been a while since I played 2, and I don't remember the proof of Eddie's existence, but I do know Eddie was real as well. Like, these are real people for sure, but it's your first go-through of the game. You have no idea, not until you've kind of found out their backstory through kind of snooping through the game.
Yeah, exactly.
You know. And I love it. I mean, I think I just really love the looming dread of Silent Hill 2 and 3. Especially 2.
2, like, for 2, the best part about it is the isolation and the fact that there's so many ways to interpret it. I think that's also the reason I'm not a big fan of the cult, is that the cult is, again, like, it's a tangible threat. Whereas in 2, there's so much more interpretation that can be done.
Yeah, for sure.
And, like, so that's, like, part of the fun of Silent Hill for me is that, like, I want to, like, break down these characters and figure out what means what, or, like, learn different opinions of what represents what.
Right.
Like, again, the breakdown of what Pyramid Head is so great, because you have that one scene where you see Pyramid Head assaulting the
mannequin. The
mannequin.
It was a mannequin, yeah.
Yeah, and you say assaulting because it's very unclear what Pyramid Head is doing.
Right, yeah.
And you see it and you think it's rape at first.
Right.
But then you're like, well, no, it could be, you know, attacking it, you know, to kill it. It could be throttling it. It could be doing any number of things.
Right.
And it serves as a perfect metaphor for what James is, because you don't know what kind of person James is at first.
Yeah. James feels he's really interesting because he does seem so incomprehensible through pretty much the whole game. And all of who James is boils down to the ending, which is something that varies.
There are 4 different ones you can get. And I love that about 2, and I love that about Shattered Memories, where you don't know the game is changing.
Yeah, oh man, it's so good. Shattered Memories is slightly less subtle about it, but it's still really interesting. Like, the whole psychological profiling thing is really cool, and I'd love to see another game try it.
Part of the thing is, like, what Shattered Memories does about it, what I think is really good about it, is that, like, there are, even, like, the way you look at objects in the game, like, if you hold your gaze on, like, a poster or something, that will count towards what appearance the characters take on.
Yeah, it's really
cool.
Like,
it's such a really, really cool way to get in the player's head, and that's what makes James so good, I think, is that James really stands out as being a player avatar.
Who isn't silent. Oh my god, amazing.
Like, ironic considering the game he's in, but,
you know. But, like, a silent player avatar is so overdone, and yet here we have James, a game that's, over 10 years old now. When did that game come out? Fucking shit.
Oh, God. It had to be, what?
Like 2003? I don't know. Let's find out real fast. Hey, Google, tell me a story. Yeah, because Googling things when you're on a podcast is always super interesting, right, people?
It's the best.
You think it's
2001.
God, really?
September 24th, 2001.
No! No! Oh my god, I guess that makes sense because I played it when I was in high school. Fuck
This
me.
game will be able to drive next year.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Why? This year.
Yeah, this year,
It's 2017.
Fuck.
I know.
Fuck.
Oh my god, it's so fucking weird. Okay, I'm an old lady. I played Silent Hill 2 in high school. I never did give it back to the guy I borrowed it from. Jonathan
I love
Wright,
when that happens.
Jonathan Wright, if you're out there, you were kind of a prick, so I don't feel too bad about it.
I love when that happens.
I stole your copy of Silent Hill 2. Sorry, dude. You were kind of an asshole.
That's how I gained a copy of Wind Waker and lost a copy of Mega Man X.
That's how I lost a copy of Final Fantasy VII, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. I have like 3 now to make up for it, but so it's fine. But, yeah, that's how I got my copy of Silent Hill 2. And I don't even have it anymore. I don't know what happened to it. The only copy of Silent Hill 2 I own is for the Xbox. I don't even own an Xbox. I have 3, but I have Silent Hill 2 for the Xbox because it had the Maria chapter in it.
Yeah.
And I used to have an Xbox 360 so I could play it, but I don't own it anymore, so I just have this game I can't play. But I have it, so, it's cool.
There you go.
There you go.
But no, yeah, in 2001 we were doing that with the protagonist, and you were having your in-game actions affect what ending you would get in ways that you didn't even see coming, and that's such a great way to interpret the game.
I know, it's so good, because James always stays kind of, incomprehensible that way. He still seems really hard to understand, because, even the ending changes depending on how you play the game, how you go about it,
Yeah, and even your interpretation of the endings can vary.
Yeah, and it's
there's so many branching ways you could go with this character, and it's great. And I love the one thing, and I'm harping off of Pat here, because, he is the Silent Hill genius, but, I loved it. In 3, when he points out that due to the layout of Silent Hill, the strip club where you meet Maria is right next to the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And so it's that just brings in a whole new aspect of James's character.
Yeah, it's does that mean while his wife was sick, was he going to strip clubs and shit? What's going on with this guy? And the thing is, again, because of the way it has different endings and it plays out the way you want it to play out, it could be a case of was he that much of an asshole, or was he doing it because he's sees it as an opportunity, or was he doing it out of desperation for contact that Mary couldn't give anymore? Right. Or was it a mercy killing, or was he just sick of her? And if you get one of the better endings, if you get if you get in water, if you get leave, which is kind of the best ending, but also the one that makes the least amount of sense. If you get in water and leave, even then, that last conversation he has with Mary, is he says, I didn't want to see you suffer, and then he kind of backpedals and he goes, no, I hated you. And then Mary corrects him and says, no, you didn't hate me. Why would you come see me as much as you did if you hated me? So, you never really know what's going on with James's head until you get the ending. And it's
you never get a full, clear picture of who this guy is. And that's what's so great about 2, is that, there's so much interpretation to be done. And again, everything. The enemy designs, the layout of the area, the way that the otherworld warp, the way it looks is all, it's all such a brilliant part of James. I love the way that Silent Hill uses the nurses differently
in every game. Oh man, I love
to tie them to the player character.
Yes, I love the different nurses.
James's are sexier looking. They have their cleavage out, and it's but they're still grotesque.
Nurses. Yeah, they're basically
they're still grotesque, but it's it's was James did he was he unfaithful, or was it just a sign of him being his vision of Mary's beauty being corrupted by her sickness.
Or is it just being super repressed from not being able to, have sex because your wife is sick?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what's going on? What is,
And then you compare them to the nurses you find in 3, which are way more aggressive and violent and, not nearly as sexy looking.
Well, yeah, they dress more like, they're dressed more in, like, their collars are buttoned up. They're wearing normal, kind of like 1950s style nurses outfits, which ties into less so Heather, more so Alessa. Her hate of hospitals and her remembering Lisa.
Remembering the pain of being, the ones in 3 are more sadistic to represent that, and it's such a great way to interpret, same thing for 2 different characters like that, and I love that. And like every one of my favorite things about that is that, like, we don't really get it. Like, if you don't really listen to the dialogue, you'll miss it. But, like, in 2, when you have Angela and the last encounter with her, where the building is on fire, and she says, "You're seeing it too. It's always like this for me."
Yeah. Oh man.
Like, I love that. Like, everyone in it is going through their own Silent Hill.
Yeah, and I would love to see. I just wish we could see more of what those different Silent Hills looked like. I wish somebody would just come out and be like, hey, this is what Eddie's was like and what Angela's was like.
I want to know what Eddie's was like.
I would love to know what Eddie's is like. I would love to know more about Eddie. I'd love to know more about Angela. I always liked Angela. I always loved, I don't know, just something about the way that first encounter with her in the graveyard always just was so weird,
Angela is I want to see hers more, and I want to see what like enemies and what monsters and stuff she dealt with, because Angela is probably the most sympathetic character out of everyone who has had to go through Silent Hill.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
I mean,
everyone, like James and Eddie, both did terrible things, and for James it's ambiguous whether or not he did it for a quote-unquote good reason, or if it was out of hatred or disgust or desperation or compassion or whatever. But like Eddie is very clearly, he did it in retaliation. He did it with anger and hatred. So like I want to see what those 2 characters went through. Was Eddie's worse as more of a punishment? Like, was Angela's more lenient, or does Silent Hill not fucking care?
I almost wonder if it's more based on kind of like what they think they deserve. Like, if Angela thinks she deserves worse than what Eddie thinks he deserves, then I would guess that hers is the worst of the 2, because it's all based on how much you hate yourself and how much how much you think you deserve to suffer for the thing you did, and I don't know. I'd love to know more about Angela.
That might explain why Angela's was constantly on fire.
Yeah.
It's a constant, pain, and why Eddie seemed like really blasé about all of it.
Yeah, he seemed just more kind of like freaked out and like just weirded out, less so like constant suffering.
I mean, he was eating fucking pizza.
I know, right? Just fucking chilling out with Laura, like no big deal. And I think it's because Eddie is a bit more of a denialist. He's the one who's saying like, I didn't do anything wrong, I didn't kill that guy, and it's James is like, I never asked if you did. And Eddie is immediately like denying it. He's trying to like kind of push it out of his mind and say it never happened. And meanwhile Angela is more like, her world just seems to be constant suffering, because that's what her life was like before. Oh my god, talk about constant suffering. Jesus God. It's just so... God, fucking Silent Hill 2 is so good, though.
Silent Hill 2 is just, like, an incredible experience.
It's an experience. It is an experience.
It's one of those games where I put it on the list of experiences.
Yeah, it's clunky. Yeah. It plays kind of weird. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's old. It's 16 years old now, or going on 16 years old. But there's just something about it that you can't help but love. It's so... Everything about its clunkiness just seems in place. If it played better, it wouldn't be as scary.
Yeah, well, that's the point of survival horror games, is they limit your maneuverability and they limit your ability to fight back so that you are more freaked out about everything you're experiencing.
That's why a lot of modern survival horror games suck. Most modern survival horror games are pretty bad in comparison to old ones, because they think that a game has to control well to be a good game. I mean, there's a difference between a good game and a fun game, and sometimes the two do not go hand in hand. You don't have to have... Your game doesn't have to be fun for it to be good. And Silent Hill 2 is a pretty damn good example of that. That you don't need to have fun. I mean, the fun is being scared. Like, that's the fun. Yeah. That's why we play these games. That's why we love horror movies. That's why I played PT in a room full of people. Because it was still scary. We were all playing it together at a party. And, because I really wanted to play PT, and I didn't have a PS4 on it, and my friend's boyfriend had it, and I was like, we have to play it now. And so we were at a party, and there was like 10 other people in the room with me, and we're all just like crowded around the TV freaking out at every little thing. Because being afraid is fun. And I don't know why. I don't know why.
Because it's an adrenaline rush.
It's an adrenaline rush. It totally
it's the same reason people ride roller coasters, or they go mountain climbing, or whatever.
Jump
it's
out
an
of
adrenaline
airplanes.
rush.
Yeah. It's a sweet, it's like the best kind of adrenaline rush, and you know, modern survival horror games just don't get that your game doesn't have to play awesome for it to be the right kind of experience, you know.
And I think the difference between the two, what really makes Silent Hill, especially 2 and 3, so much have more of an impact and are far more memorable. Not only is it because of the human aspects of the characters and of the the way you can analyze it and the way everything represents something else. Mm-hmm. Silent Hill 2 and 3 were far more unsettling than the other one.
Silent Hill 3 is so fucking scary. I mean, I know everybody likes Silent Hill 2 more, but fuck me, I'll go to my grave saying Silent Hill 3 is the scarier game.
Absolutely, and the biggest part of that is just because everything about it is very unsettling, and it's very... I point this out as the difference between like generic horror and actually horror that works, is that horror isn't a threatening being. Horror is about something that looks slightly out of place, and you can't quite understand what it is.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not, it's fucking... It's so ironic. While I was watching the Silent Hill 3 playthrough they just did, I would get ads for the Bye Bye Man. Which, I'm like, look at this. Great. Look at this fucking contrast right here of good horror and bad horror. Like, again, I'm not a horror fan. I don't like horror things.
Right.
But I understand the difference between a good one and a bad one. Right. And bad horror is a guy in a big coat who you can't see his face.
Uh-huh.
Good horror is that same guy, but hey, his arms are really long.
Yeah.
Or like he's walking backwards, but his knees are going the incorrect way.
It's the difference. It's It Follows. You haven't seen It Follows. Don't see It Follows because you're a big chicken and you wouldn't survive it. Have I shown you, by the way, this is like a humble brag, but not really because I'm not quite as skinny as this girl. Have you seen the girl in It Follows?
No.
She's like my creepy fucking clone, dude.
Oh, well now I gotta see it.
You gotta Google Micah Monroe.
I will after we're done here. I'll look that up.
You need to Google it. And then go on record and be like, yeah, it looks just fucking like me.
Actually, fuck it, I'll do it right now.
Just Google Micah. Her name is Maika Micah Monroe. It Follows. And
that's fucking you.
I know, right? I got a text message from my boss at like 2 a.m. one night with a screenshot from It Follows on my phone, and she's like, "This is you." And I'm like, what the fuck? And I Googled it. I'm like, what the fuck? So, like, yeah, Micah Monroe is, like, my skinnier doppelganger. And
that's, you know what that is? That's a Silent Hill thing.
That's a Silent Hill thing.
That's, like, you would meet someone who looks like you, and you'd be like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
And especially because It Follows is fucking terrifying. If you want a good horror movie, and I know you don't, but whoever's listening, if you want a good horror movie, fucking see It Follows, because it's terrifying and it's about it's a subtle horror of being followed by a thing that you can never get away from, and it moves slowly the whole time. And you can always see it coming.
It's so, you want it to be creepy, you want it to be gross and uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. That's what good horror is. It's not just jump scares. It's not just a threatening figure. It's something that makes you real in horror, and it makes you like, you want to be able to think about what your character is going through and be like, I could never do that.
Yeah. Probably one of the scariest parts of Silent Hill 3 that just made it shoot so high up my list of scary games, and just it instantly blew Silent Hill 2 out of the water, is the mirror room.
Oh god, the mirror room is... That's one of those things where, again...
sticks with you.
You don't notice it at first.
Yeah, oh man.
Because the creepy blood walls are everywhere.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, well, it's just that. And you don't notice that the mirror is changing at first. Mm-hmm. And then you don't notice that your reflection is not mimicking you at first.
Oh, God, it's so fucking scary.
And then when you do, they timed it out perfectly. When you do realize it, the door is still locked. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that timing is so perfect. Like, they must have tested that room. Oh my god, 100 times.
With people over and over and over again to find the perfect timing.
I mean, because the timing is so important there. Like, because you cannot be able to get out of the room immediately after you realize, one, that the mirror is changing, and two, you can't be able to escape the room once you realize your reflection is no longer mimicking you. You have to be able to escape the room a few heartbeats after that.
Yeah.
And not a second earlier or later. Like, that timing has to be perfect. Because...
And that's one of the hardest things to do in games is, how many times have you ruined a moment in a game because you still had control and you fucked up the timing?
Yep.
Because you looked away from the screen at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Like, it happens in, like, any, like, game, like, oh, here's our big moment, and you blew it. Oh,
you weren't fucking paying attention. Good job.
When, like, you put the controller down in Final Fantasy VII, and Sephiroth counters you, or attacks you, and Cloud just counters him.
Yeah.
And that's how you end it. You don't get to do the Omni Slash. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like
stuff like that.
So you have to, like, keep the control on the player, and then also create the situation where you have to figure out the timing where the average person will pick up that something odd is happening, will investigate, then try to run, realize they can't get out, and then freak out, and then finally get to escape.
And they can't... Like, they have to kind of incentivize you to get the fuck out of there, because it's been a while, I don't think anything happens if you stay in the room with your frozen self. Like, with the mirror you?
Yeah, and...
I don't remember.
I mean, but it's like, the way she approaches you is like, oh, this is a threat.
Yeah.
And so, regardless, you still want to get out of there, and that's what makes it such a great, great moment.
Oh my god, it's so good. And, like, the mirror room alone... just shot my appreciation for Silent Hill 3's scariness way up, and then the whole game just keeps getting scarier after that.
Oh yeah,
the part when you finally realize, like, when you first go to meet Leonard in the hospital, and you're in those under parts, you're like when that new door is there that shouldn't be there, and you walk through it, and it's weird. And at first you're like, this is weird. And then after a while you realize, oh, fuck, this is way bigger than it should be. That is terrifying in retrospect. It's again, that kind of, it's a subtle horror, and it's more of like a play on the nature of reality so much as it is like a jump scare. You're just realizing this place is bigger than it could physically be. And there's something scary about that.
Exactly.
It's very House of Leaves. If you've ever really wanted to feel like you've brought evil into your home, go buy a copy of House of Leaves.
I remember when you were over my house for that weekend.
Yes.
And I flipped through it, and I'm like, oh no, you know what? I'm gonna put this away.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put this back.
I have a copy in my house, and every now and then I look at it like, what have I brought into my home? I love that book, though. It's really hard to finish, and I still haven't. I've tried a few times. I've got like a third of the way through, and it's just so incomprehensible after a while. You're like, I gotta take a break. But, that's what House of Leaves does well. It plays, and what Silent Hill 3 did really, really well. It just plays on and kind of fucks with your perception of the reality of things.
Yeah, and one of the things I really appreciate about what Silent Hill 3 does is that one of the easiest things to conflate with horror is erotica.
Yeah, for sure.
And 2 does it. 2 is like main fucking thing is the combination of sex and horror.
Yeah, sex and violence is actually a thing. One of the directors said, I can't remember which one, but one of the lead directors for Silent Hill was like, Silent Hill 2 is sex and violence. That's what it is.
Yeah. What I appreciate about 3 is that it's still sex and violence, but for Heather, it's not, sexiness or erotica. It's pregnancy. It's
fear of sex and what sex makes happen. Sex makes babies, guys. I don't know if you knew that.
It's also not like, and I hate to say like it's the easy way out, but like it's the most blatant one is, fear of sex or fear of intimacy or something like that. But for Heather, it's pregnancy specifically.
Yeah, for a good reason.
That's like an extra step that you don't normally see in horror that, combines the two.
And let's be real for like a half second here. It's a pretty normal fucking fear for a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah, totally. And that's what makes it work really well.
And I'm 28, and I'm still like, I have like, pregnancy nightmares. Like those are things that girls have.
Yeah.
And so like, it's a fear that a male protagonist just can't kind of wrap their head around, and it's kind of what makes Heather so interesting is, like dudes who play the game, they get like, oh yeah, fear of pregnancy. That's like a thing that happens because pregnancy is horrifying. But if you're like a girl playing Silent Hill 3, that fear of pregnancy becomes like a real, like it's like really knocking at your door. And so it's like you just identify with it in such a really cool way that you don't get to see very often in games. Again, it's the whole idea of, well, sexy, scary,
Yeah, and the monster has tits, like,
oh my god, tits!
And I mean, yeah. 2 does it great, again, because everything about it is so unsettling. Like,
it's gross.
Maria is, she's obviously supposed to be a sexy character, and she is very attractive, but it's creepy. Yeah. The way she acts and the way it's transposed upon, the backdrop of Silent Hill, you're not...
Who wants to get it on in Silent Hill? I mean, really, control yourself.
It's not fan service. It's like, even the most dude bro of gamers would be like, no, that's not cool.
That's creepy.
And the other thing that Shattered Memories does really well is also that, like, exaggeration and that, grossness of it comes through really well, because if you do, where, like, one of the things, like, if you stare at, when you hit the first person mode, if you stare at the female, companion's breasts, that puts your point up, and it eventually turns Harry into this sleazy dirtbag. Yeah. And so, like, the game is like, again, it's not so much fan service as it is, well, look at what you're doing, you prick.
Yeah, exactly.
This is you now.
Yeah, and it's so, like, going back to the whole, like, Maria thing, I think it really helps kind of drive home this whole, her weirdness, where she's like, this place is fucked up, but let's be sexy and stuff. And you're like, girl, do you not understand what's going on right now? Like,
did you see the guy with the big knife?
And, like, the weird fucked up mannequins with legs, and then more legs. Like, you saw all of that, right?
Yeah, like, maybe fucking, cool it.
Like, chill. Like, as normal people playing these games, like, we see Maria, and we are instantly like, fucking weird. Take a breath, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
not a
just,
sexy
like,
breath.
Not
like,
a sexy breath, like a normal breath.
Yeah.
You know, like go take a cold shower. And so that helps kind of drive home Maria's like super foreignness and the game does a really good job of making Maria seem like your cool, sexy, like the cool girl from Gone Girl, which is another movie we really need to watch at some point just to really, really fucking ruin your life. It'll never make you want to get married. Well, it's like the whole idea of like, you know, the cool girl. You know, that's what Maria is. She's cool girl. You know, she does everything you ever wanted your girlfriend to do. She's hot and sexy, and she'll never make fun of you, which is a line she actually says. And she'll always be with you and all this shit, and you know, she'll let you do whatever you want, and she'll be whatever you want, and it's just kind of like, it really helps drive home her fucked up otherness.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that, because when she's being cool, you're like, okay, and then it kind of just keeps pushing that on you, and you're just like, I'm uncomfortable right now.
Exactly.
It's so good! Oh my god!
Yeah, that's, so 2 and 3 do, like, everything that 2 and 3 set out to do, they do perfectly.
Oh man, they do it so well. I love Silent Hill 2 and 3 so much. Oh my god.
And that's why all the later ones are so rough. And I blame it, now that I think about it, I blame it all on the movie.
I blame every single bit of it on the movie, 100%. Yeah, it's
because
all the movie's fault.
The movie took this psychological horror, this very personal, you know, terror that the grotesque monsters are not just spooky monster people. They are supposed to be familiar. Yeah. And you are supposed to be like, oh god, I know what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's being twisted into this weird way that's making me very uncomfortable.
And it's trying to kill me.
Yeah, it took all of that, and it's like, no, but it's just scary.
Yeah.
No, but boo, it's a ghost monster.
The worst...
Look, it's Pyramid Head, kids. He's your favorite character.
Ripping somebody's skin off. Yay! What? Okay.
It's the difference between shit like the Saw movies and, like, an actual good horror film. It's just, like...
different. Yeah.
You're taking the idea of, like, it's creepy blood, you know, organ people.
Yeah.
But that's not what's scary about Silent Hill. What's scary about it is how intimate it gets with you.
Yeah, exactly. And it just makes you sound like an elitist when you say this, but the worst thing that ever happened to Silent Hill was not just the movie, it was the fact that the movie was pretty successful.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, and so that became a huge shift in marketing, and it's clear that Konami lost interest in the franchise after 4, but they still wanted to make money.
And so they were like, well, we'll take it away from Team Silent, which was the worst thing you could have ever fucking done. And we're going to hand it off to a bunch of American developers who just don't understand because it's not their baby. And I know American game devs can make scary games. I'm not here to talk about the dichotomy between American horror and Japanese horror. That's another movie altogether. It's another gorge that we don't have time for. But you still gave this franchise to some American devs who don't understand it. It's not their baby. They're just there to make it feel like other Silent Hills without ever making it feel like a Silent Hill. You know, the movies made Silent Hill popular, and it was the worst thing that could have happened to it, honestly.
They just made imitations of it, and turning Pyramid Head into a mascot is like the ultimate sign of that.
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
It's just like, no, that's not the point. It's, you know, I hate to bring this up, like, because, again, this is another thing that's been talked about to death, but fuck it, whatever. It's the same thing as putting C-3PO and R2 into the prequels.
Oh god, right? It's the same thing.
They're not there because they're not there to push the story along. They're there because the audience expects them to be there.
Yeah, it's because marketing demands it.
Yeah, because you can make an action figure of R2-D2 and C-3PO again if they're in the movie, and you can put Pyramid Head on the box if he's in the game. Mm-hmm. And it's so...
It's shitty. I mean, it's just such a massive missing the point. And it was just, you know, It was just so... Everything about it, they just didn't understand. They just didn't get it right.
It sucks because it never recovered.
No, it never did. After that movie, no.
Games, there's always been a franchise that, like, has a misstep, or even a long-term misstep, and then eventually it comes back.
Yeah, it finds its feet.
Yeah, like, whether good or bad, you can say the same thing about Phoenix Wright, which is, whether or not Apologist was a misstep or not, like, it clearly hindered the sales of it, and then Dual Destinies brought it back. Like, there's so many franchises that recovered, and Silent Hill, for a series as well renowned and well received as 2 and 3 were, or even 1, 2, and 3 were, like, it never recovered after that. There was never a game that you could look at post that where you're like, well, no, that one was good.
Yeah. No, it never happened again. I mean, like we said, Shattered Memories was okay, but it's at the bottom of the okay pile.
Yeah,
and it's not really...
It just passes that threshold.
I mean, just barely. I mean, like I said, it's like a solid 7. It's a good 7, but it's still a 7. It's too short. It's too easy.
I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who's like, "Oh, I want to get into survival horror."
Yeah, don't.
I wouldn't recommend that one. I would be like, "Well, play 2 or 3, or and then if you like those, maybe give Shattered Memories a quick look."
Honestly, though, the deal is that, like, I wouldn't even be like that. I'd be like, well, first you need to play 2 and 3, and then play 1, and then play Shattered Memories to appreciate it in comparison to 1. Like, that's what it is. It's fan service. And so, I mean, it's just like, fuck, there really was never a good Silent Hill after that. And I mean, they even fucked it up. They fucked the franchise so hard that even the HD remixes of 2 and 3 were just bad. I mean, they were just bad.
Oh my god. Have you've seen the screenshots, right?
Yes. Yes, they're bad.
And it's the PS2 to PS3 era, like PS3 had a lot of HD trilogy remakes. Mm-hmm. Okay, Ratchet got one, Jack got one. Yep. It wasn't a trilogy, but Ico and Shadow of the Colossus got one.
Yeah. Kingdom Hearts got like 20.
Kingdom Hearts has 2. And Devil May Cry got one.
The Final Fantasy X got one.
Yeah, all of them got these HD ports, and some of them are good, some of them are bad. Right. The Kingdom Hearts ones are great. The Shadow of the Colossus ones are great. Ratchet and Clank is not so great.
Really?
Yeah, it's got graphical hiccups and lagging issues, but
that's another podcast.
Yeah, but fucking the Silent Hill ones.
Oh man, nothing quite ruined it the way the Silent Hill ones did.
Dude, like, they didn't get the voices back.
No, they did eventually, but they tried to, like, wheedle out of those contracts. But I think they eventually did. Like, you can select one of the different audio tracks.
Yeah, you can select the audio tracks for it, but, like,
and, like,
as much as I love him, like, dude, you can't cast Troy Baker
as James.
Like, you can't. I love Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, but she can't be a character.
No, she's the singer.
No, like, because
like
these games are not supposed to have well-known voices, because you're not supposed to be like, oh, hey, it's that guy. Because that takes you out of the experience.
Yeah, you can't be like, I know that guy's voice, I'm comfortable now. No, you should never, ever be fucking comfortable, ever.
No. Exactly.
You should not... You cannot cast them with good... Not that Guy Seehee et al. Are not great voice actors, but you can't cast them
The word you're looking for is notable.
Yeah, but you can't cast them with good voice actors. Or with notable voice actors. Or even just, like, give good performances. You have to have it sound weird and stilted. You have to have it sound strange and uncomfortable. And, like, you're talking to people... like talking to strangers. I mean, that's what it is. You're having conversations with strangers.
Yeah.
After your mom told you all those times, don't talk to strangers. Like, Silent Hill 2 and 3 are pretty good reasons why you shouldn't. Like, that's basically what it boils down to, is the uncomfortableness that comes with talking to people you don't know and you can't understand. And by casting them with good voices, fucks it all up.
Yeah, you turned it less into an actual thing that gets into your brain and turned it more into performance.
a video game, and like in a negative
exactly.
way. I mean, like I shouldn't associate anything with video games in a negative way. I run a video game podcast, but let's be real for a minute here.
Well, there's, again, there's a difference between, like, a video game and a video game. And it's like we talked about this earlier today, actually. Like, there's a difference between a sequel and a sequel with a capital S.
Yeah.
Or, like, one is done out of adoration for a product and wanting to experience more of that. Mm-hmm. And the other is done to clean it up and make it pretty.
Yeah.
And, get a few more bucks out of it. Like,
yeah.
The HD ports of these two games... the original games were made with the intent of messing with the player's expectations and making them afraid and telling a story in a way that only video games can tell a story.
Yeah, absolutely.
The HD ports are video games.
They're video games. They're a way to clean up the graphics and take away the fog. Why would you decrease the amount of fog in that fucking game?
Yeah. Why would you... Okay, so for one thing... That not only removes one of the core aesthetic parts of Silent Hill...
You idiot.
Like, the fog is supposed to be oppressive and blank and supposed to be like, well, what the fuck is going to come out of the fog?
Right.
The other thing is that it's to hide the draw distance, and we can see the edge of the world when you cut the fog out!
That's the whole fucking point of the fog, is to help with performance issues. And then, the real fucked part is that you cut down on the fog... And then it still performs like hot-ass garbage.
Yeah.
Like, if you were gonna cut out the fog, you fucking idiots, then you better make sure the game runs good.
Yeah, and you shouldn't replace all the font with fucking Comic Sans.
Fuck. Nothing
What are you
takes
doing?
my graphic designer ass out of something like Comic Sans.
Oh,
what the fuck are you doing? Like, I'm sorry. You just cannot... You can't do what Konami did to Silent Hill 2 and 3. They're holy grails, and I hate it when people say a video game is a holy grail. But fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Silent Hill 2 and 3 are horror holy grails. They are things that are not meant to be fucked with.
It's the difference between, like HD ports are supposed to be, you're cleaning up this game to re-release it on a more convenient platform so that new people can be brought into it and experience it again. Mm-hmm. That's the reason you do it. And yes, of course, you also do it to make a few extra bucks on the side.
Yeah, it's some easy money, for sure.
Yeah, but, especially in the case of something like Kingdom Hearts, where it's like, okay, well, we have all these games on different platforms. Fine, we'll condense them into 2 discs on the PS3. Easy peasy. Here's all the games you need. There you go. You're done.
You're done. Now get ready for Kingdom Hearts 3, which is never coming out. But
yeah, and then the Jack trilogy it's all on, or Devil May Cry. It's all on one disc. Here you go. You get all of them now. They're a bit cleaned up. It's better. It's we took it. Uncharted did it too, where Uncharted took Uncharted 1 and 2 and mapped the Uncharted 3 gameplay engine to those 2 games, so they play better.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
Like,
I did not know that.
It plays way better. It plays way cleaner now, and it's great. And
that's awesome.
For the Silent Hill one, they basically went out of their way to ruin everything that makes Silent Hill Silent Hill.
It's because Konami are the worst people ever. I mean, collectively, everybody at Konami. Even if you're a good person working at Konami, you work at Konami, you're a bad person. Sorry.
Pretty much. Or you're trapped.
Or you're trapped.
They've got you shackled to the pachinko mines.
Like poor Kojima-san. They had him locked in an office, that poor bastard.
That's just like it's such a perfect example of the downfall of Silent Hill and the downfall of Konami in general, where it's like you pumped out these soulless cash grab Silent Hill games, and then you butchered 2 and 3 and turned them into soulless cash grabs.
It's not enough that you made Homecoming and Downpour and Book of Memories.
It's not so much that there's a fucking Silent Hill arcade game.
Yeah.
Like,
you had to go. You had to go and you had to not just do that. You had to retroactively fuck with the 2 good ones. The 2 really good ones. You really had to do that.
Yeah.
You pieces of shit. I'll fight every single one of you for what you've done. And then, salt in the wound, they go and they cancel Silent Hills. As if we weren't.
So you know what? Let's.
Yeah.
Let's do that, okay? Like,
oh my god, I'm
God.
so bitter.
I will always, because, dude, you had the fucking holy grail set up. Other game developers would slaughter their families for the setup you had. PT dropped. It just happened. People opened up their... They turned on their PS4s and they saw this PT thing for free. It's a fucking creepypasta.
It is! That's exactly what it is. It's all it is there's a free demo on the PlayStation. Anybody can play it. It's impossible to beat. It changes. The rules to beat it seem to change based on the direction the wind is blowing.
Okay, we talked about this in the Christmas cast, where it's like, we don't get that era where there's recess rumors going around, you know?
PT brought back the recess rumor.
PT was that, because no one knew. They're like, okay, well, I went to the door, and then it was locked, so I turned around, and then I checked the clock, and then I went back and the door was open, but I heard this guy, like, didn't do that. He just checked the door twice, and it opened, and then no one knew the exact path to go through.
Nobody knew the combination, so things could change randomly.
Yeah.
You could go through, and suddenly your move speed has tripled. Suddenly you're in a red room, and you can't tell what the fuck is going on. I just can't believe it.
It took literal days before someone finally cracked it, and we still didn't know what they did. No one knows the exact correct combination of, here are the movements you need to take to get to the end of it. And then we see Silent Hills.
And it was the perfect setup. It was a dream setup. I mean, it was an instant amount of just an incredible amount of hype. I mean, game developers would give anything for the level of excitement that something like that could build. It was free press. People were talking about it nonstop. Yeah,
because for one thing, run down the checklist. It looked goddamn incredible.
Yes, it looked real as fuck.
Visually was just an absolute jaw-dropping, stunning experience. It had a mystery behind it. No one knew what was going on in that. It could have been anything. You didn't know what it was. It was just called PT. Before we figured out what it actually was, we just knew it as PT. We didn't know what that stood for, what that meant. We didn't know anything about the character.
We didn't know anything about the studio that made it, because the studio that made it listed in its credits doesn't exist. It's just a callback to Kojima or something. I can't remember what it is right now. But
so we had this literal mystery dropped in our laps, and because it was so good at what it did, it was so good at scaring you, it was so good at catching you off guard, at making you feel unsettled and uncomfortable.
It was just a hallway.
Yeah.
That's all PT is. It's a hallway. It is a repeating hallway with a bathroom. And that is it. That is all PT is, and it's all it does. And that is all it needed to be. It was perfect.
And again, it goes back to that being unsettling, where it's one of the first things you see when you leave the hallway is you see that cupboard thing.
Yeah.
And you go and what is it? It's covered in, moldy candy and spider webs.
And roaches and cigarette butts, and it's filthy, and there's,
So you're immediately, and because it looks so damn good, you're immediately uncomfortable, because you're like, I can picture that.
You could be there. You could really... Yeah. It's finally reaching that point of graphical fidelity where, old games had to get creative in the way they scared you, right? Like Silent Hill 2. They had to hide things in the fog because the engine kind of sucked. And new-ish games were they were shiny enough that you didn't feel scared, but they weren't realistic enough to make you feel like you were there. We finally reached that level of graphical fidelity where you can feel like you are there, and you can feel like you're standing in that room, and you're next to a window, looking down at a filthy cupboard, and you just get the sense that something is watching you.
You can imagine what it would be like to be near that and to smell it or to physically touch it or to, be around that, and you can feel the grossness building up in you. And then you go through it and it gets more and more creepier and more unsettling and more scary, and you see the ghost and you hear the radio and you kind of pick up details here and there, and you're trying to piece it together in the midst of trying to figure out how to progress and how to get to the next bit of the story.
And how to not piss off Lisa. You know, how do you not...
Yeah.
What do you do? There's nothing quite like knowing you cannot turn around. You know?
Yeah.
That is terrifying. You can't... Nothing has ever done that so perfectly the way PT did it. Where you literally, if you turned around... And what was fucked up was if you didn't solve... Like, if you were on a loop and you didn't solve it right, the door at the end of the hallway would stay locked. But if you turned around, Lisa would be there. You know? So you were like, I'm fucked. That is the most incredible distillation of the idea of don't turn around in all of video games. You know, it's the voice on the radio, literally the voice on the radio in PT saying, don't turn around. And knowing if you did, you are fucked. It's amazing.
People are saying, and I'm also almost inclined to agree, that PT is the best horror game ever created, and like, yeah, it's up there.
It's up there.
Without a doubt.
And it's just a demo. I mean, it's just a demo of what we could have gotten.
It was literally a playable trailer. It was just, here's a concept of a game, and it stands amongst, Silent Hill 2 and Resident Evil 2.
Oh my god, and it's just amazing just what it does so perfectly by being the idea of something simple, something familiar, like the hallways in your home. Okay, in my house now, my current home, you haven't seen it yet, I have a basement, and I have a set of stairs leading down to the basement. There's no door leading down to my creepy-ass dark basement. Like, there's nothing keeping me from the basement. So I do everything in my power to not look down those stairs if I walk by it at night. Because all I see is like concrete steps leading down into an open door and the infinite blackness of my basement.
All you see is Lisa down there.
All I see is Lisa down there. To this day. Let me put it this way. When PT first dropped, I was at work. Like, I was working and I was, not working the way I should have been. I was goofing off on the internet for a few seconds to just kind of get away from my work for a little bit. And I saw, I think it was on Kotaku. I don't remember what. Maybe it was just on Tumblr. That somebody had posted a playthrough of PT. Because I didn't have a PS4 at the time. God, if I did, I would still have it. But we'll get to that in a second. But, so I was like, well, I'll watch this for a second. I was in a well-lit room with all my coworkers standing around talking. We were just having a normal work day. I'm watching PT, and the minute the screen glitched out and whoever was playing turned around and there's Lisa, I jumped away from my computer screen. I literally went and just yanked my headphones off and just like jumped back from it because I felt like I had seen something I shouldn't have seen. Like,
dude, I had to watch it through the filter of the Game Grumps.
Yes, and even
I'm like, I heard about this game. I'm like, okay, you know what? I want to see what this is about. I'm like, but you know what? Aaron and Danny, they'll be funny guys, and they'll make me laugh, and I won't be scared.
Okay, but here's the thing. Even when the Game Grumps were playing it, there's a point, I've seen that same video, there's a point in that video where they are playing it, they go through a loop, there's a pause, and you hear Aaron go, I have never seen this before. And that is the moment you realize you have something special.
Yeah,
that is when you know you have something really special, because Aaron has beaten, at that point in that playthrough, he has beaten PT. He knows how it ends, and they're going through it, Danny's playing it, and you hear him go, oh, I've never seen this before. And you're like, holy shit, there is so much in this little demo.
Yeah.
And it's just a demo. It's a demo!
And then...
People found for weeks, even after they figured out the solution, they were finding new things.
And then after that, this game comes out, and it's literally the smash hit. It is, everyone's talking about PT. Mm-hmm. Everyone's playing PT. It's any video game site worth their salt is talking about PT. And then you find out who's directing it.
Oh my god.
You see, first off, you see it's Silent Hill. Holy shit,
God.
Silent Hill is back. This is what Silent Hill is supposed to be. It's back, it's real. Holy shit. Who's directing it? Hideo fucking Kojima?
What the fuck?
What?
What? Okay, here's the thing. Back in, oh god, I'll never forget this, because like if I went back in time 10 years and I grabbed my 18-year-old self by her shoulders and I said, Hideo Kojima is going to try to direct a Silent Hill game, she would go, I just told that joke 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, because everyone would say, like, who should direct it? Kojima. Get Kojima to direct a Silent Hill. That guy knows how to write characters.
But everybody was joking about it. It was always like a non-serious thing. It was never anything. It was never a thing anybody ever thought would ever actually happen. Nobody ever thought Hideo Kojima would direct a Silent Hill game. And that's what made the joke so funny. It was like the guy who made, I heard you like Castlevania. That guy responsible for that was going to direct a Silent Hill game? No. Like, it was a joke. And then it happened, and it's terrifying. There's Guillermo del Toro involved. Junji Ito. Okay, everybody talks about the fact that Norman Reedus and Guillermo del Toro were involved, but if you've ever read Uzumaki, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. I lost you for a second. That's okay.
Everybody talks about the fact that Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus were involved. And don't get me wrong, that's cool. But Junji Ito was involved.
Yeah.
Have you ever read Uzumaki?
Have you ever read anything he's ever written?
The Enigma of Amigara Fault, which, I mean, everybody's turned it into a meme, sure, but the Enigma of Amigara Fault is still fucking scary, okay? Junji Ito was doing the monster designs for Silent Hill.
Like, so you've got the plot being written by a master storyteller. There's no doubt about it. Hideo Kojima knows how to write a compelling, weird, esoteric story.
Yeah, I played Metal Gear Solid 3. Yeah, it's kind of what he does.
That man knows exactly what he's doing. You have the direction of Guillermo del Toro, the man who did Pan's Labyrinth. Its English translation is The Orphanage, but that is a fucking scary movie. Mama isn't good, but it's star
scary.
Power.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you have the star power of one of the biggest names in TV right now. Norman Reedus playing the highlight of Silent Hill is the everyman protagonist that they pull off really well every time. You have Norman Reedus in that role, who is fully on board with everything that's going on, and he's super enthusiastic about it.
And he's friends with Hideo Kojima? Yeah, oh my god.
You have monster designs by Junji Ito.
Junji fucking Ito!
Straight up, you have not seen a dream team like this since Chrono Trigger.
It's like telling me, it's like somebody assembled the Justice League.
Yeah!
You know?
These are the fucking Avengers!
It's,
gathering together. The four people, like, who could you pick better for these roles that besides these four? Holy shit! It's a done deal!
It's bukus of money. It's selling out. It's millions of copies sold within a few weeks. It's Silent Hill finally being back on top after being at the bottom for so long. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if all these parts, okay, so first off, you have these four, okay? And if you were to say, hey, these four are making a game, people would already be like, okay, I'm fucking on board. Yeah. I'm totally in for that.
I'm fucking in.
They had the backing of PT. Showing off, here's what we can do. Here's the game that we can make. Look at this thing. And its beloved franchise that it's been a long time coming. Mm-hmm. Silent Hill will be back. It'll be back in full form. The Silent Hill you know is coming back. With these four behind it, with this level of care put into the trailer.
Yeah, into just a concept, like just a proof of concept, basically. To have that level of care put into it, and knowing that, Hideo Kojima is not a man who skips on details, and knowing that neither is Guillermo del Toro. He's a man who's obsessed with the details, who who could tell you about the symbolism of the Little Red Shoe in Pacific Rim, a movie about giant robots fighting giant monsters. You know, like these are men who understand to detail. Junji Ito is, again, a person who is detail-oriented down to the finest. I mean, what makes Uzumaki and the Enigma of Amagari Fault's art so fucking gross is how detailed it is.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
What they do. That is what they do. God damn it. Oh my god. And then you fucking cancel it.
And then it's done. And then it's over. It's just over like that. It's gone. They pull it from the shop. They pull PT from the shop. You can't download it again. It's gone forever if you delete it off your PS4. They're not talking about it. They fire Hideo Kojima, which means the death of Metal Gear Solid, which means the death of Castlevania. They shut down every of their video game departments. They are focusing on nothing but hollowing out the corpses of... I told you that PT is like if Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro came out of a hospital room and they pulled off their surgical gloves and they said, I have good news. Grandma's gonna make it. And then Konami pulls out a gun and shoots Grandma in the head and goes, no, she's not.
Oh no! It's horrible. It's just... And then they turn Grandma into a pachinko machine.
Yeah, and then they stuff Grandma and they fill her full of tiny marbles, and then
they turn
her
into a pachinko machine.
They put her in a room full of a million smokers and
of Japanese grandmas, and
yeah.
and you pull her arm to win marbles. Oh god, they killed Silent Hill.
They killed
Silent Hill.
They killed Silent Hill, and then they released a trailer for Pachinko Silent Hill like 2 months afterwards, and it's like, how much harder could you piss in your fans' face? Like, how could you do that and think that it would be an okay thing to do? How could you release HD clips of Metal Gear Solid 3 cutscenes? Like, some of the most heart-wrenching, like, emotional gut punches in video game history.
And then it's
for pachinko. It's for loud electronic beeping noises and for little tiny balls to roll down a slot thing.
Because you can't gamble in Japan. That's it.
How could you fucking like how?
Why?
How, like, corporate villain do you have to be?
Like, you're like an 80s villain at this point. You're like Donald Trump. You're just the worst.
You're bulldozing the skate park to build a parking complex.
Or a mini mall or something.
Yeah.
You are that asshole. You're the bad guys in Captain Planet.
Like, for fuck's... Like... And... what really sucks about it is that, like, seeing the vitriol that the power trio, because I don't think Junji Ito actually does anything socially. I think he lives in a cave and then will occasionally, like, throw manga into a mailbox.
He blogs about his cat. I wish I was kidding. Junji Ito has a blog where he draws weird comics about his cat.
Okay, I have seen those, yeah.
They're amazing.
But like, on Twitter, like, hearing, like, Kojima, Del Toro, and Norman Reedus being like, yeah, it's over. And we were all really excited. Like, the best thing ever is Del Toro's quote, "It's not happening and it breaks my greasy heart."
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like, these guys were so on board with everything that was going on, and they were so excited to do this. And then it's just gone.
It was such a like, just a project of love, and it was completely just tanked. I mean, it was just that's what it was. It was just a dream project. It was something made out of genuine enthusiasm and love, and then they just killed it.
And I've never seen anything like get pulled. Like, okay, you know what? fine. You want to pull it down because it's an advertisement for a game that's not coming out. Fine. You know what? Okay. I don't like that, but I can understand why, from a marketing perspective, why that would be bad news.
But they're not making video games anymore anyways. What is it?
Yeah, but but to pull it so that you can't even re-download it if you accidentally deleted it.
Oh god, it's so evil, right?
Or you know what? Just fucking take out the bit that says Silent Hills.
Just let us keep PT. Because now you've relegated PT to a literal creepypasta.
Yeah. And I'm sure
that's exactly what it is.
I'm sure if at some point, unless someone already has done it, I'm sure someone will release a
hack? Yeah, like a ROM or whatever.
Or a file that you can put on your PS4 and you'll have it. I'm sure that will happen at some point if it hasn't already. But this was such an important game because of the way it affected the culture of gaming for its brief moment, and now it's gone. Right,
it's brilliant shining moment where recess rumors came back and I mean, it was genuinely scary, and it was something new and different, and it was just amazing, and they just completely destroyed it, and I can't get over why. I mean, you're a video game company. Make a fucking video game.
You guys made Castlevania. You guys make Metal Gear Solid. You guys,
Now they're making Metal Gear Zombies, and nobody cares.
Did you? And we got Kojima's opinion on that.
Oh, what'd he say?
He's like, Metal Gear Solid is a spy thriller.
Yeah.
I don't see how zombies fit into this.
That's awesome. Good for him. I hope Guillermo del Toro never stops shit-talking Konami. I hope every year on the anniversary of PT's cancellation, he posts "fuck Konami" on Twitter.
Yeah.
I hope he never stops. I hope Konami goes bankrupt and we never have to fucking hear from those corporate soulless pieces of shit ever again. I will never, ever, because of what they did to Silent Hill. I feel so strongly about Silent Hill that I will never in my life buy another Konami game as long as I live because of what they did to Silent Hill.
Oh yeah, and the only good thing to come out of it is that the limiters are off Kojima.
Oh my god, right? How about Death Stranding? Holy shit.
Fucking, and people say it all the time, but yeah, Kojima just became Big Boss.
Kojima became Big Boss. I would follow, after everything that Konami put him through, I would follow Hideo Kojima into hell. I would not think twice about it. Do you understand?
Punished Kojima, a man without a developer.
I would, totally.
Fucking Del Toro is Ocelot, and Norman Reedus is Miller.
And it's just this is the level, we were joking about it even back during E3, the level of, what Konami has created. I don't even think they realize it. But, I'm sure they do now. Now they're like, fuck. But, when Jeff Keighley shit-talked them at the Game Awards last year.
Oh, yeah.
Can we give Jeff Keighley an award for that? But for 2, when the first Death Stranding trailer came out, and poor, what's-his-face, Phil Spencer? Was it Phil Spencer who had to come out on stage and be like...
I think it was.
And had to be like, here's Kojima-san's new game. And, poor Phil Spencer is like, nobody is gonna know what the fuck is going on. And it plays, and there's, a silence, and then everybody just loses their fucking minds because it's Hideo Kojima. It's you don't even realize
Hideo
what
Kojima without anything holding him back, and, normally that's a bad thing. George Lucas.
But this time, full creative control is exactly what you need.
Yeah, because you want to see where this fucker's going.
I can't wait for the 4-month boss fight that Death Stranding will inevitably have. Oh my god, are you so excited?
I love that post that was there's no evidence that Death Stranding is a video game.
It's just gonna be Mads Mikkelsen hunting Norman Reedus for sport on national TV. I'm so ready. Oh man, how about Mads Mikkelsen's involvement too? Because like,
oh, that's the. I think we talked about it briefly, but like, dude, that's the
comedy gold.
The fucking best.
It's comedy gold, is what it is.
It's just like. So what? Did Hideo Kojima just show him naked Norman Reedus, and he's like, "I'm in," and then like, yes,
yeah,
that's what happened.
That's actually exactly what happened. I just like that Norman Reedus, that Mads Mikkelsen just doesn't know what's going on. I love it. I love it.
Well, he told me what it was about, but I still don't get it, but the artistic value behind it.
And you're like, it's gonna be a good game. You just know. Like, that's how I know that Death Stranding is going to be a good game. Because Mads Mikkelsen doesn't know what it's about.
Yeah.
That's that's my metric.
And, it's just... they're going to harvest as much as they could from PT.
I hope they do.
What PT was going to be. Like, the GDD for Silent Hills exists somewhere.
Oh, yes.
And they're going to harvest as much as they can and shove it into Death Stranding.
I hope they do. I really do wish I knew what Death Stranding was. what is this game going to be?
I do, but I also want to put the game in put the disc in my PS4 and be like, oh, this is what it is.
Yeah, I think after a certain point, I'm probably going to go on like a Death Stranding blackout where I'm not going to look at screenshots or anything. Like
after the next trailer that comes out, I'll be like, okay, you know what? No more forever until I can put the game in my PS4.
Exactly. Like, until then, I'm done. So I got to put like a media blackout on Death Stranding until that happens.
Like, I want to go to the store and have to fight the Guardian that withholds all Death Stranding copies. And then I can go and solve the puzzle box to open the case. And then go to my friends' houses and collect their pieces of the disc. And put them and lock them together.
And then start the game up. And
then put the game in my Wii U.
And have to download a patch from your Wii U to your PS4, and then check the back of the game box for a URL that will send you to a website where you have to solve another riddle that will then give you a passcode to actually let you play Death Stranding. I am willing to go through those hoops for Hideo Kojima.
I will do whatever Kojima wants me to do to play this game.
They made him into Big Boss.
They, like, hearing, like, Del Toro be like, yeah, I absolutely adore Hideo Kojima and I will follow him wherever he wants me to go. Like, yeah, dude, he's just Big Boss.
He's just Big Boss, that's it. He's just Big Boss.
Developer Sans Frontiers. Fuck it. That's my stupid American accent butchering French. But
you can't speak French, dude.
Nope. No. Developers without borders.
Developers sans frontières.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. It's cool, dude. I got you. But, man, fucking shit.
Les Enfants Terribles.
Oh, no. Stop. You're killing me.
I love you, Ocelot.
You're killing me.
Ocelot, don't you speak French?
No. We were supposed to be talking about Silent Hill, but...
but Death Stranding is Silent Hill.
Oh, God, Death Stranding, it looks so fucking weird. I'm so ready. I'm so fucking ready. 2018, baby. Is your butt ready for Death Stranding? No.
No one's will ever be ready until even after it's done and buried, like, it'll never be... I'm waiting for, 2025, and then a patch comes out for Death Stranding. And the patch is Silent Hills.
You're so right! Oh my god, I'm so ready for it! I still love the idea that Death Stranding is actually just a patch for Metal Gear Solid 5. Oh my god.
Well, it's I can't remember who it is, but there's an actor who made a movie called, 100... or something, and the idea is that the movie will not come out until 100 years after it's been filmed.
Oh, yeah.
And so, no one knows what it is.
Oh, man. Isn't that, what's this, I think that's John Malkovich.
Yeah, oh yeah, John Malkovich, yeah!
It's John Malkovich, it's his, weird experimental movie. So, oh, man. I think it has to be 100 years after he dies. It's not just 100 years since it wraps production. John Malkovich has to die first, and then that movie comes out or something like that. I don't.
So we need to kill John Malkovich.
No, we've got enough celebrity deaths going on. You need to stop. Like,
okay.
No. That brings some kind of horrible curse on the year. I feel like John Malkovich is the other linchpin of reality, and we already lost David Bowie, so,
Yeah.
Chill.
So, you know what? David Bowie would have been part of Death Stranding.
David Bowie would have been part of Death Stranding, and I think that's kind of why Mads Mikkelsen is there, because Mads Mikkelsen is a fucking weird-looking guy, too, like, in a cool way. So, like, yeah. And David Bowie needed to redeem himself for his involvement with Omicron.
Yeah. We'll save that for another podcast, because we do have one coming up that will be part of, like, another vent cast, basically.
Are we shit talking David Cage?
We can connect him to our Valentine's Day cast.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah, totally. Because I'll never get tired of bad talking David Cage.
No,
I think I hate David Cage more than I hate Konami. So that's really saying something. Well, I don't know.
But
David Cage should kill someone.
The point is, like, the overall point for all of this is that Silent Hill didn't deserve it.
Silent Hill never deserved it, and it was so good.
It's a great franchise where over half the games are garbage.
Which is really, really something. Yeah, there's only 4 games in the series of goodness, and 2 of them are, like, not as good as the other 2. Like, but you should still play The Room. I will probably play The Room sooner than later, now that I do have to deal with this grief that comes from Silent Hills.
Yeah.
I will have to play The Room, because I do want to experience it, and because, it's still, better than most of the other shit that we got.
Yeah, exactly. Like...
Yeah.
Even as someone who doesn't like horror, I can still appreciate what it did for the genre and what it did for video games in general.
Yes, and goddamn if it isn't good. And we didn't even talk about the music, but the music is good. And
dude,
I know
the sound, like in general in those games,
fucking weird. I know. Oh my god,
I love it. Like it's so perfect. It's the whole package is greater than the sum of its parts. And
oh my god, okay, we could end it like this, because I think one of my favorite stories I ever tell people about video games is, so back in the day, the Silent Hill games, after 3, used to come with a soundtrack, because the music is that good. And I had somehow procured the Homecoming soundtrack, because even though Homecoming is a bad game, Akira Yamaoka still did the music for it, so it still got good music. And I had the Homecoming soundtrack in my car, and my uncle used to I live in Alabama, as I've said a few times, and my uncle lived out in the fucking boonies, right? And so I drive out to the boonies to go have family time, and eventually somebody gets hungry, and because, you live out in the boonies, pizza guy will not come to your house. Like, they just don't come that far out in the middle of fucking nowhere. You gotta, I don't know if this is a thing you do up in Michigan, but here in Alabama, if you live too far away, the pizza guy will only meet you halfway.
I've never heard of that, but okay.
Yeah, it's literally like they will meet you at the outside of their delivery radius. Like, they'll meet you at a gas station, and you pay them in cash or whatever, and you get your pizza, and they go on their merry way. That's a thing that happens here out in Alabama, because there's nothing fucking here. What's up? And so my cousin was like, well, I'll take Sarah's car because it's at the end of the driveway, so it's the easiest to get out, and I'll go pick up the pizza. Cool. So my cousin goes and gets the pizza. She comes back, like, 20 minutes later. Like I said, my uncle lives in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's pitch black. There are no streetlights. It's on a gravel road, and it's back out in the woods. I mean, old and creepy-ass old house in the middle of Alabama, like, straight up, deliverance country, let's be real.
Yeah.
And my cousin walks into the house, she's holding pizza, and she says, Sarah, what the hell is playing in your car? And I was like, oh shit, that's right, I had left the Silent Hill soundtrack in my car. And it was apparently terrifying for my poor cousin.
That's great.
It was amazing, yeah, because that's how good it is. The music itself can just terrify you at the right time, at the right moment. So yeah, it was amazing. Akira Yamaoka is a god. Mary Elizabeth McGlynn is incredible.
Yes. So, that'll be it, I think.
That's good. Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
We said this wasn't going to be a long podcast, but look at us.
Well, fuck us, you know?
Fuck us. We never, ever make short podcasts. We just don't know how, so whatever. Sorry.
Yeah.
Alright.
So, thanks to Vistager for use for background music. You can email us at thegorgepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at thegorgepodcast.
You can tell us, like everybody else on fucking Twitter right now, how Ben doesn't have all of the fucking Ratchet and Clank games.
I have all the ones that count. Okay, I don't have the high octane games because those are
don't
PSP.
count.
Those are PSP games not made by Insomniac. I have Quest for Booty and I have Full Frontal Assault. They're just on my PS3 because we didn't get a disc version of Quest for Booty in America. It's only a European game.
Oh. Yeah, I love getting...
The Europeans got the disc for Quest for Booty.
I love getting rando notifications on my phone, and it's the same message every single time. You guys are real fucking creative out there in video game landia.
And I don't have All for One because it's also just not canon. So I'm showing off that I have all 8 of the canonical games. So, yeah.
Fuckers.
Okay.
Follow us on Twitter anyways, though, and I'll still make fun of you, but whatever. Hey, it's cool.
Alright.
And,
fuck Konami.
And fuck Konami, yeah. Fuck Konami.
Good night, everyone.